Well, good evening, everybody. Appreciate you being here on the Mindset of a Top Recruiter training. We've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. I would highly recommend that if you've got something to write with and something to write on, you probably want to grab that before we get started here. And just so, move a couple things out of the way here, and we're off and going. I want to thank everybody for being here, especially this time of the year. I know we all should be out Christmas shopping. Maybe most of you've got that done by now. Kudos to you if you do. But before we get started off in the new year, I kind of wanted to cover some things about recruiting and the mindset of a top recruiter, some of the things that go through my mind when I'm recruiting, and I think that's going to help everybody out for the new year. Because I've noticed that there is a big difference between those that recruit large numbers of folks in a program versus those that don't. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, a lot of things that go on in our minds before we ever generate a lead, which really allows us to be very effective in this business. And I want to cover all those. And there's basically 12 key topics that I want to talk to you about tonight. And for those who don't know me, I've been in this industry. My name's Rod Stinson. Been doing it for 25 years, successfully for 20. And I've enjoyed 5 and 6 figures on a monthly basis for the last 20 years now. And I've been an effective recruiter for 20 years now. And what I'm going to talk to you about isn't something I've read in a book or studied or bought and then regurgitate it back to you. I get sick and tired of the so-called gurus out there that teach you how to build these businesses when they actually have never built one ever. And I've built businesses several times over in the direct sales, network marketing, MLM, and top-tier industry. So what I'm going to share with you is really off the top of my head. I kind of wrote down 12 topics, and if you don't mind, I'm going to just wing it and ad-lib on those 12 topics. And shame on me if I couldn't do that if I hadn't done this for 20 some odd years. So I hope that you do have something to write with, and you can jot down some of these key points I'm going to make. And I hope that it does change your effectiveness to be a strong recruiter in this industry. Because if it does, then I've done my part, and that's really what I'm all about. I'm out helping and seeing people succeed in this industry. So let's go ahead and jump into the mindset of a top recruiter. Let's see if I can get the recording and everything to work at the same time. That would be phenomenal. So let's go ahead and jump right into the mindset number 1. Mindset number 1 is have no doubts. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of times when I'm bringing somebody into the business, and if you've had these thoughts before, I will kind of nicely say, get them removed out of your head. You don't want to have these type of thoughts in your mind before you sign up in a program and help it to be successful for you. Here's what I'm talking about. Many times when I bring somebody into the business, I hear language such as this. Well, Rod, I'm going to get involved with this, but I hope this is going to be the one. I hope this is the one that's finally going to make me some money. Boy, is that the wrong way to start off. In other words, you're implying that you hope that the business does all the work, or you hope that the business is going to be the one for you. You can't think that way. You can't. I've never once signed up in any program where I had any doubts whatsoever that I was going to make money with that program. Not one time. Every program I've ever done, and I've done 11 in the last 25 years, every one I've ever got involved with, I knew that I would make some money in that particular program. I wasn't doubting whether or not I was doing the right thing. I wasn't doubting my decision to send in my startup money and get going in that business. Never. I've never had that feeling at all, and here's why. All I need to know is there's at least one person in that biz op making money. That's it. If there's one person in that company making money, then I can make money. That's all I need to have. If someone already blazed a trail, if somebody already started producing income with that program, then I know God don't make no junk. He made me, he made them. They're making money. If they can make money, I can make money as well. So I'm going to go out there and do that business because there's already one person that's already making it happen. So that can eliminate all your doubt as well. Depending on what top-tier program you're working with our organization, I guarantee you can make it work because there's plenty of people before you that are making it work. Certainly not just myself. We have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of success stories of folks that are generating 5 figures consistently on a monthly and even on a weekly basis. So what I would say to you is no doubts. Don't have any doubts. Don't have any doubts whether or not this is going to be the one, whether or not this one's going to finally work for you. You just can't think that way because you've already defeating your success before you ever get started by having that negative thinking. As Zig Ziglar always says, you need checkup from the neck up. And sometimes we need to have that before we go forward with this business and realize that if there's just one person making money in that business, there's no reason why I can't. If there's just one person in the business that you're enrolling in is making money, there's no reason you can't. None whatsoever. And I'm going to prove that in these next 11 steps, why if they're doing it, you can do it. But erase right off the bat whether or not this is going to be the one that's going to work for you. Just know, with every fiber you're made of, just know that it is the one that's going to work for you. This is it. And if you have that thought process, you're already starting off on the right foot. Mindset number 2 is I've always understood that success is in the numbers. Now, I know we hear that all the time, and it kind of gets a little redundant and it's kind of repetitious, but the bottom line is that's the truth. Success really is in the numbers. It's totally in the numbers, and if it wasn't, there's no way I could have succeeded. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share a little bit of my story so you can understand that what I say, I'm living proof that it's in the numbers. When I got involved with this industry 25 years ago, and one of the reasons I put this mindset training together is I had a conversation with one of our newer reps, Joyce, and she kind of got me talking about this. And after we got done talking for about 45 minutes, I realized that I probably don't tell this story enough. And after telling her the story, it seemed to help her out a little bit. So I want to tell everybody as a group a story that I had to go through to finally realize that success is truly in the numbers. But when I got enrolled in this industry 25 years ago, I had responded to a simple little cable billboard ad that came across the TV, and it said, "Is what you're currently doing earning you $15,000 per month?" I kind of scoffed and laughed at it. Didn't think anybody earned $15,000 per month. I was a blue-collar worker. I was a machinist in the aerospace industry, and I was working my tail off to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month. But I came home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I worked swing shift. I worked 3 in the afternoon till 3 in the morning. Did that for almost 11 years. Came home, sat down at the TV, kind of vegged out before I went to bed, and that billboard ad came on. And I responded to it. I called, and it was a voicemail. And the next day I talked with a gentleman who showed up on my doorstep with 2 bags of skincare. Let him into my house, and he sat down on the couch and put all these skincare products on the table and proceeded to tell me about the network marketing industry with those particular products. Now, I didn't know that there was a way of making an income based on other people's efforts. In other words, I could leverage myself. I didn't know that basically, I thought at that point in time it was one person, one job, one paycheck is how you earned a living. I didn't realize that there was a way of making a living via leverage. And I got involved with that. I didn't get involved with that business because I just couldn't get my head wrapped around the product line. But it opened up my mind to network marketing. I began looking around and found another company and got involved with that particular company. 4 years later, this is 4 years of working that business 12 to 15 hours a day, 6 to 7 days per week. I couldn't make any income. It was spotty income at best. At this point in time, I had quit my job prematurely. I'd gone full-time in network marketing a week after I saw it. What a dodo. But in any event, I went a week after I saw it, I went full-time in the industry. I hated my job that much and jumped in and tried to make this business work. Now, I could go on for hours, all the things I did wrong, but I'm going to summarize it, and success really is in the numbers. After 4 years, I couldn't make the business work. Every stitch of jewelry my wife had was in a pawn shop. We were having garage sales every Saturday and Sunday with what little we had left to put food on the table. Fortunately, we were renting an old beat-up house that has a swimming pool. We were giving swimming lessons in the backyard so we could put food on the table. My wife was driving an old beat-up Chevy Celebrity with a back window that was busted out, and I couldn't even replace the window. And I was riding my 10-speed to people's homes doing opportunity meetings in their homes. I mean, it was bad for us, and I couldn't make the business work. And a lot of it came down to the fact that all of it came down to the fact that I just was not working the numbers. I was kind of stuck in that mode of always getting ready to get ready. Always had a bad case of analysis paralysis. Always thought I was just one other informational book away from making money, so I'd read the books because that was easy to do. Or I thought I was one marketing technique away from actually making the business work, so I'd do that. Or I was creating finalizing or making better my file system, making sure all my pencils were sharpened, making sure my little office in our home looked perfect. I was doing all the things outside of working the numbers. Then finally one day, I'm sitting there, we're bankrupt, we've lost everything. You think that would have been enough motivation for me to go out and do the business? And I'm sitting in our old beat-up rented house in Fontana, California, looking out the window in the front yard, watching my son roller skate up and down the curb, up and down the sidewalk. He hit a little pebble on the sidewalk, flipped over, did a flip, landed in the gutter, bumped his lip on the curb, and punched his tooth right through his lip. Nasty gash, no doubt about it. I saw this happening. As a dad would, I ran out there and hugged my son Joshua. And the first thought that went through my mind was, great, how are we going to pay for this? How am I going to take him to the doctor and get stitches in this lip? I mean, I'm embarrassed to tell you that that was the first thought that went through my mind, but that's how financially busted we were. And I was concerned about how we going to get his lip stitched up and get this fixed right, rather than my first thought, just not worrying about that and comforting my son. Certainly I gave him a hug, and certainly all that, but I remember that thought first creeping into my head, great, how are we going to pay for this? My life changed in that instant. That very moment, I decided, quit wimping out. You got to go do the business. You got to do what you know you need to do and go out there and prospect. Now, again, this was 20 years ago. Prospecting today, because of the internet and all the tools you're going to be learning out here, learning in the near future, is a cinch compared to what it was back then. But back then, you just had to talk to people. I had to talk to strangers. I already burned through my warm market. Most of my machinist friends and stuff had no goals in life. They weren't going anywhere other than, just staying a machinist, and that's okay. They were comfortable with that. I wasn't. So I had to go out there and start talking to strangers, and here's what I did. That very morning, I woke up, and I remember reading, I believe it was in a Jim Rohn book, that a gentleman that was a life insurance salesman, he used to do this little trick where he would keep himself accountable to talking to enough new people every day to sell life insurance policies. So I thought, I'll take that same technique and apply it to my home-based business. So every morning, I had to put on my best pair of shoes and slacks and shirt. I would go into the cupboard and grab the food cupboard and grab 10 pinto beans, and I would stuff them in my pocket. And every day I'd go out in the marketplace. I'd go to restaurants. I'd go to business complex. I'd go to wherever I could find some folks. And every time I talked to a brand new person about my product and my company, I could throw one of those pinto beans away. As soon as I was done with 10 pinto beans, I could go home for the day. I'm embarrassed to say that sometimes I would start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and to get enough courage to talk to 10 people in a given day, I'd be out till midnight. And I can tell you at midnight at 7-Eleven, you don't meet the best prospects. But I kept myself accountable to that process. I'd go out and share with folks my 1 or 2 minute commercial about what my business was about, and if they liked it, I gave them a sample of my product. And many times when I was reaching out and giving people a sample of our product, which quite frankly I couldn't even afford to give these samples away, but I'd reach out and give people this sample of this product, and many people looked at me as if I was trying to hand them a turd. Hard way to go, but kept doing it over and over and over and over. Into my third month, I was creating a little bit of retail sales, wasn't building a lot of the business, but I was working the numbers, and I felt pretty good about that because I had never worked the numbers in that degree. Every day 10 people, sometimes 15 people, but every day at least 10 people, 7 days a week. Now I'm into this, I believe 87, 88 days, and I just have a little bit of a business starting to happen. And I'm walking through a parking lot at a Target shopping center. I'm walking through the parking lot, or excuse me, it wasn't a Target. I don't know if you remember these, but it was a Gemco. I don't even think they're around anymore. But I was walking through the parking lot, and I'm talking with folks, and this gentleman seemed to say, well, you know what? I like what you have to say here. In fact, I'm getting ready to sell my insurance agency, and I'm looking for something else. So let me go check out your company, and I'll give you a call back. Well, I didn't think anything of it, and again, I'd been at this 87, 88 days now. Here's what happened. This gentleman went home, checked out the company, liked what he saw. That particular company, which was a nutritional network marketing company, just came out with a brand new product, and that brand new product was, and I didn't even like the product, it was basically these drops that you put in your pet's water, so if they have an accident on the carpet, it doesn't smell. I thought, that's a ridiculous product. I mean, I'm in a nutritional company with vitamins and weight loss products. Why would I want to be marketing a pet product like that? I'll probably never ever talk about that product ever. Well, the gentleman went home, and just so happens he wanted to start a pet supply shop. Saw that product on the website and bought $47,000 worth of that silly, what I thought was a stupid product. And because he bought $47,000 of that particular product, that month I took third place in the company's production bonus awards, and certainly sold more of that product than anybody, but that third place earned me an $8,500 bonus check above and beyond the puny little $700 to $800 check I was getting on top of the effort I was doing prior to that. So in that particular month, I just missed $10,000 in earnings because this gentleman that I was working the numbers, liked what he saw, went to the company site, saw this pet product, bought it, and I was on the front cover of that company magazine, took third place in the company, and I realized, oh my gosh, this really is just a numbers game. If you work the numbers with no regard to what the outcome is going to be, you're going to run across somebody that's going to say, I've been looking for something like this, I'm ready to go. So when I tell you it's in the numbers, it really is in the numbers. Success in our industry is totally in the numbers. I'm living proof of that. I was a 4-year failure, a blue-collar worker, barely got through high school, never went to college, and today I earn a 5- and 6-figure monthly income in this industry because I'm willing to work the numbers. I firmly believe if anybody can do this, if I can do this, anybody can do this, because this has not been an easy business for me. I'm an introverted person. My wife would send me to the store to get Del Monte green beans, and if I couldn't find the Del Monte, I'd come home empty-handed, and my wife would say, couldn't you find the green beans? Or if you couldn't find the green beans, couldn't you ask somebody where they were? And I'd say, that means I have to talk to a stranger. I can't do that. I mean, that's how introverted I was. In fact, I was so introverted in school, I got held back a grade because I never talked to anybody. And now I'm in a business where I get to talk with hundreds and not thousands of folks. So again, if I can do this, anybody can do this if you will work the numbers. Mindset number 3 is SW, 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 who's next? What's that stand for? Some will, some won't, so what, who's next? I don't get real tied up in those folks that are going to give me a lot of objections. I don't get tied up in folks that need a lot of convincing. I don't get tied up in folks that are going to be nasty or mean. Some will, some won't, so what, who's next? Often I get emails from folks that saying, Rod, here's an email I got from this person. What would you say to this person? And it's usually an email where they're either putting down what we're doing or they're negative or this or that. For me, it's like, some will, some won't, so what, who's next? I'm going to move on. I'm not going to dilly-dally with anybody that I have to convince to look at this business, that I have to convince that this is the best place to be, that I have to convince that we have an incredible compensation plan. I'm not going to get involved in that activity. Either they see it or they don't. And that's all I care about, because one thing for sure is when you're working the numbers, you don't care about the folks that need convincing, that you need to overcome their objections, that you need to sell them, that you need to close them, that you need to do any of that. I don't care. I believe in SW, SW, SW. Some will, some won't, so what? Who's next? And when you move through your leads that way, never to get bogged down by somebody that's going to slow you up, then success is that much quicker for you as well as a top recruiter in the industry. Mindset number 4 is never sell, never explain, never overcome objections, never close, and never chase. If you ever feel like you're ever selling your business, selling the concept, selling the industry, selling the timing of where we're at, if you ever feel that you're doing that with a prospect, you're really off base. You don't ever want to do that. Now, why is that? Well, let me tell you why that is. I don't care how great of a salesperson you are. If you're a super good salesperson and do a great job explaining our business, that's great for you, but here's what your prospect will say. They'll say, no wonder Mr. or Mrs. is so good at this business. I can't believe how well they explain it. I could never do what they just did. Nor do I want to, because they just spent 45 minutes on the phone with me explaining the business in such a great way. I don't have 45 minutes to spend time on the phone with my prospects. So if you're really good at it, you become unduplicatable. Now let's just say you're poor at it. Then you bomb out there too. So you bomb out if you're good at it. You bomb out if you're bad at it. Every time I've allowed myself to get into that corner where somebody needs to know everything before I take them to the next step, before I tour guide them to a webinar or a recorded webinar, every single time I have not recruited that individual. And I'm not bad at explaining the business, but I still bomb out. So again, if you're good at it, you're going to bomb out because people are going to say they can't duplicate you. If you're bad at it, you're going to bomb out because you're just bad at it. So you want to be cautious of never doing that. The other thing is, you never want to sell is less than 3% of the entire population ever wants to be in any kind of business where they feel like they're selling. So you don't want people to think that they have to sell, because 97% of the entire population, they don't want to be in a selling situation. So that's not a good reason either. The third reason is the fact that it goes against the grain of the 4 key words that we have to answer, or the feeling that our prospects have in the back of their mind is, can I do this? That is critical. If you've been around any of my systems in the past, you know that I create systems that answer that objection in the back of your prospect's mind if we just tour guide them through the system. And that is the question in the back of your prospect's mind, my prospect's minds, in the back of your mind when you're looking at the business, and the back of my mind when I'm looking at a business is, can I do this? And if that can be answered in the system itself, and we'll talk about that in a moment, if that can be answered, then you become a recruiting magnet. And I do my best to create systems that will answer that question in the back of your prospect's mind, that they actually can do this because they too never have to sell, explain, overcome objections, close, or chase. Chase is a big deal too. I don't chase prospects. Don't chase them at all. I think that's a position of weakness, and I think your posture is very, very important here, that you don't get into chasing anybody. In fact, when I have a warm-up conversation with somebody, and when I send them to a webinar, either to watch one of my live webinars or recorded webinars, I let folks know right out of the gate. I'll let them know, you know what, I hope you like what you see there, but don't expect me to call you back and chase you. In fact, here's the good news, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. I don't chase anybody, and the good news is you won't have to either. We'll show you how to generate all the leads you could ever use to build this business, and we'll build a system that's going to close them for you. So you don't have to chase anybody. So if you like what you see here, the ball's in your court, you'll have to call me. And the good news is that's how people are going to work with you as well. They'll have to call you. That kind of gives people a sigh of relief. They understand they don't have to chase anybody. It's called a position of strength. See, there's a saying in our industry that the fortune's in the follow-up. I kind of disagree with that. For me, the fortune's always been in my posture. Now, I'm not saying not follow up with folks, and certainly there's automated systems with autoresponders and whatnot that can do that, but I would rather have the right posture in the beginning, that people basically get a feeling of, this person's moving on. They're going to succeed with or without me. They don't really care if I'm going to come aboard or not. Boy, they must have got something really going on. I want to find out more, and I want to get involved with them because I like the fact that I'm not going to have to chase anybody either. See, it's that psychology that helps you in the recruiting. So you want your posture, and you want to be coming from a position of strength, and by not chasing people, you certainly are. Everybody wants what they think they might not be able to have, and if you're chasing somebody, you lose that position, you lose that posture. Mindset number 5 is leverage a system to do the heavy lifting. And this is kind of tailgating on the last point that I mentioned here, and that's leveraging a system. I learned 20 years ago that systems were more important than anything in this industry. One of the reasons after I finally started having some success, to catapult my success to the next level, I kind of fell into by accident creating the systems. In fact, I was one of the first ones in network marketing utilizing conference calls, 3-minute sizzle lines, and fax on demand to create a system, because we didn't have this great tool called the internet back then. And my first system was pretty archaic, considered by today's terms of what we have to use today. But my first system basically was, I would run a newspaper ad, do some sizzle cards, do some postcards. That would channel people into a 3-minute sizzle message. If they liked what that message said, that message then directed them to pulling a 7-page fax on demand up. After they read that 7-page fax on demand, if they were still coming along and liked what they read, then they were invited to attend a 30-minute teleseminar, which at that point in time I was doing five nights a week. And here's what happened, and this is when the light bulb went off for me, and this is really when I started creating some wealth in this industry. People would call me back, and we had a pretty good comp plan, and we had a pretty good product, but here's what folks said time and time again, and I want you to get this because this is where most of our prospects are. When people would call me back, they'd say things such as, Rod, your product looked good, and your system looked good, and the comp plan sounds pretty good, but that's not really why I'm calling you. Here's why I'm calling you, Rod, and here's what would get me closer to enrolling with you in this program. If I could get that exact same system that got me talking to you right now, I'm in. And that's when the light bulb went off. I realized if I could create systems that were helping me to succeed in this business and leverage that over to other folks and let them know that if they came aboard, and if they came aboard quickly, I would build one of those systems for them as well, and they can go out there and do the same thing. See, it answered that critical question, can I do this? And they realized they could do this if they didn't have to sell, if they didn't have to close, if they didn't have to overcome objections. If they didn't have to do any of that, it got them that much closer being involved in the business. And that system took me from, at that point in time, kind of squeaking out a living to making $5.5 million very quickly in that particular opportunity, and built a group of 135,000 distributors. It was because of the system. And then I've gone on to create systems for other programs, which has allowed our groups to be the top earning groups in virtually every company I've been part of. I've been blessed with some incredible folks to work with, but we all got attracted into the program because there was a system in place. So I've kind of been coined or become the systems guy. But it's leveraging a system to do the heavy lifting, which attracts people into a program. And if they like what they see there, then they can fall in love with the comp plan. They can fall in love with the products. They can fall in love with the crusade or whatever we're doing in that particular program. But it's all about leveraging a system to do the heavy lifting. You know, I don't want to sell. You probably don't want to sell. 97% of our prospects don't want to sell. So let's create a system that's going to remove that out of the equation so they don't ever have to do it. And that's the mindset number 5, is leverage a system. Mindset number 6 is disciplined about marketing schedule, no interruptions. This is a big, big deal right here. Disciplined about marketing schedule, no interruptions. Let me kind of explain what I mean by this. A lot of folks, when they get involved with this business, they start off really strong because they do the activity necessary, such as prospect, let people know what they're doing, and they get through the list, and then they come out of the gate strong, and they put a bunch of people in the program, and then things begin to kind of taper off. And what usually happens there, and I've counseled with a lot of folks, is their discipline about their marketing kind of comes to a screeching halt or is sketchy at best. If you try to contact me at certain time frames during the day, you won't get me. You won't get me picking up the phone. You won't get me answering emails. You just flat out won't get me. Why? Because I'm too busy marketing at those time frames. So when I'm marketing, nothing gets in my way. Nothing interrupts that. I don't care what crisis comes up. I don't care who urgently needs to talk to me. I don't care about any of that. I know that these 2 to 3 hours a day when I'm marketing, that's my time to do nothing but marketing. And I'm bulldog persistent about staying true to that 5 to 6, sometimes 7 days a week. That's what's allowed me to make the income in this industry, is staying constantly firm with knowing that this time slot every day is my marketing time, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's really one of the major reasons why I've been able to be a top recruiter in this industry, is I don't let anybody interrupt that. I don't start managing my organization. I don't start putting out fires. I don't start doing things that's going to keep me away from my recruiting time. And I would tell you, if you want to be a top recruiter, don't let anybody else get in the way of it either, because that is the one activity that you cannot stop doing if you want to become wealthy in this industry. You can't let people interrupt the time that you're going to be out there prospecting, because without prospecting, without working your leads, without getting people to whatever impending event that we're getting them to, you're not going to make big money if you don't get real consistent about that activity. This is a hard one for a lot of folks, especially when you're working from home. A lot of things can rob your attention about taking away from that 2 to 3 hours, which is your key, critical, money-making time. That's critical right there. You want to not let anything interrupt that. So whatever time during the day it's good for you, carve out that, and make sure that if your family likes to interrupt you, make sure that they know from this time to this time, the door is closed to my office. Please don't interrupt me, because this is where I pay the bills. This is how we're going to get wealthy, family, so don't interrupt me at this time. So, or whatever else is going to stop that 2 to 3 hours, an hour, 2 or 3 hours, whatever you can do in your schedule. If it's only an hour now, great, stay true to that. Then maybe you'll get to a point where you can bump it up to 2 hours, stay true to that. Maybe you can bump it up to 3 hours, stay true to that. Whatever time you put aside for that, don't let anything interrupt that, because that's the one activity that if that's all you ever did, you'd make money. We've got folks in our group, and everything that I've done, some folks that make incredible amounts of money, and they're real good at doing that, and they're not good at doing anything else in the business at all. They're not real good about taking care of their folks. They're not real good about following up with their folks. They're not real good about a lot of things, but they're good at that, so they're making serious income. So you want to be good at that and let nothing get in the way. So be disciplined about your marketing schedule. No matter what type of marketing you're doing, if that's your prospecting time, don't let nothing interrupt it. Don't confuse productive activity with non-productive activity. One of the things that Joyce asked me when I was having that conversation with her the other day is, she said, "Rod, what took you so long? Why did it take you 4 years to figure that thing out? Why did it take you 4 years to make money with that industry?" A lot of it for me was I was confusing productive activity with non-productive activity. I thought reading the next book, and I read dozens and dozens and dozens of books on direct sales, network marketing, all that. I thought maybe that was going to get me that much closer to me making the money. I thought, again, having all sharpened pencils on my desk, that was going to keep me closer. I thought having my great file system, that was going to keep me closer. I thought maybe if I polished my desk one more time and made it look pretty, that was going to keep me closer. I was doing all these things because in most cases I was fearful of doing what I needed to do, which was to be out there dropping my pinto beans, talking to 10 to 15 new prospects every day. A lot of times we do things within our business and you know what they are. You know what you're doing to stop you from doing the activity that actually makes the income. We all know what they are. And whatever you're doing that's not productive, stop doing that. Take the non-productive stuff you're doing, take that time slot where you're doing that non-productive time and move it into productive activity, which is marketing and dealing with and talking with new prospects every single day. It's real easy that once you start developing a group to have conversations with the same people that are already signed up in your group. It's real easy to go that route. It's real easy to get stuck on the phone an hour, 2 or 3 or 4 hours every day talking to people that you've already enrolled in your business and think that you're really doing the business when actually that particular day you didn't spend any time creating new growth. It's that new growth that's going to catapult you to the earning level that you want in this business. So it's real easy to continue doing things that are easy to do, they feel better, and then at the end of the day, if you look at your activity level and say, how many new people did I talk to today? If it's a big fat goose egg, you really didn't do anything that day to build your business and get it to grow. I'm not saying that you don't want to cultivate those relationships with people that are in your group. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying, though, is make sure that the activity that you're doing isn't robbing you from the most productive activity, which is always prospecting and talking with new people. Now, again, we all know this. I'm just trying to reiterate something that maybe, I just need to tell you so you can understand that it is something that I dealt with as well. It was real easy for me to talk with my distributors who were already in the business and shoot the breeze for hours and waste an entire day. I'm asking you not to do that. I mean, there is a time for that. But again, not robbing the time that we should be using to build our business. I was real good at that because, again, I was doing stuff where I thought it was actually doing the business. I was really confusing activity with results, and I think we do that a lot in this industry. Mindset number 8 is set up a marketing campaigns the night before. I see this happening a lot of times when I'm talking with folks when it should be business building time, and that's when folks are doing their harvesting of their leads, their scraping of their leads, setting up their campaigns and doing that type of stuff. When I'm harvesting leads, when I'm scraping leads, and we'll get into more on that in future trainings for those of you who don't know what harvesting and scraping is and whatnot, but when I'm doing that stuff, I do that usually between 10 and midnight. That's when I can't be talking to prospects. So between 10 and midnight is when I'm putting my leads together, putting my campaigns together for the following day. And I like to get that done at night so I'm not wasting the next day doing that kind of stuff. I would challenge you to do the same thing. Don't do the busy work during the day when that's the time when you should be talking to prospects, having those warm-up conversations with your prospects, and then driving them to whatever impending event, whether it's a webinar or whatnot or a teleseminar. You want to have all that set up the night before so you can do that, so you can be very effective the following day. Mindset number 9 is set activity goals, not income goals. Here's what I mean by that. You can't always control what your income's going to be as a goal, but you can always control what your activity is going to be as a goal. So what I would say to you is set goals of this is how many emails I'm going to send out a day. This is how many voice broadcasts I'm going to do today. This is how many postcards I'm going to send out today. This is how many dial-in ditchings I'm going to do today. Or whatever marketing mechanisms that you have, map out those goals, those activity goals, and stay true to those. So set activity goals, not income goals. I understand there's a certain income level you want to get to, but let's just face the facts. You're not going to get to those income goals until you're consistently marketing and setting goals that you're reaching on a daily basis. And make sure the goals are reachable. Don't set the goals so far out there you're not going to reach them and you're going to get frustrated. Set goals that are reachable and set them as activities, and by doing that and doing that activity over and over and over and over, you're going to reach your income goals. That's a given. The activity gets you to the goals. So I'd say set those rather than income goals. It's really easy to come into the business and say, my first month I want to make $30,000. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but now you got to break it down into activities to get to that $30,000. So it's just safer to set a goal of something that you're in control of rather than income goals. And by doing the activity, the income goals will take care of themselves. Mindset number 10 is recruiters spin multiple marketing methods at the same time. They don't just do one thing to generate their leads. They're doing multiple things. I personally like to spin about 4 at the same time. Now I understand we're all coming in, many folks are coming in learning this stuff, but once you get the mechanics of one particular market medium down, and again in future trainings we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the 12 main market mediums that I use in future trainings, and we'll have Q&A sessions to make sure you understand those. But once you get the mechanics of a certain market medium, a way and method that you generate a lead, once you get the mechanics down, then layer on another one. Once you get the mechanics down of that one, then layer on another one. And by doing that by getting 3 or 4 or 5 going at one time, then if 1 or 2 or 3 of them aren't working, rest assured another one will. But you just, by diversifying your lead generation methods, you secure the fact that you're always going to have folks to talk to get them to the next impending event, whether it's a teleseminar, a webinar, a live webinar, a recorded webinar, whatever it might be, by layering on multiple market mediums. And I say that because a lot of folks, I see they get involved with the business, and maybe they learn email marketing and the techniques that we utilize for that, and then 3 months later, that's still all they're doing is email marketing, or they learn maybe postcards, or they learn the method that we do postcards, or maybe the dial and digits or whatnot, and then 2 or 3 months later, that's all that they're doing, and wonder why they're not getting the results they're looking for. Hey, if I just leaned on one market medium, I guarantee you I would not have the success that I have. It's a combination of diversifying my lead generation into 3, 4, 5 things at the same time, which has caused the lead flow to be such that it allows me to make sales. And it will be the same for you as well. Mindset number 11 is work leads and prospects with no emotional regard for the immediate outcome. Work leads, prospects with no emotional regard for the immediate outcome. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're out there generating leads and you're building your business, it's not about making immediate sales. A lot of folks get this backwards. It's not about that. It's about you building your pipeline. So if you and the reason the pipeline is critical is once you start building a pipeline of prospects in your system, everybody makes their decision to come aboard with you in their own time. Timing's everything, and timing's right. It's got to be right for them as well. And when you've got a pipeline of prospects building, they're going to remember the webinar they went to. They're going to remember this. I couldn't tell you how many folks go to the webinar, for whatever reason they didn't get involved with me, worked 2 or 3 other programs, had little success, and then realized and came back to me and decided to do this. I mean, I can't control their timing. I can't control when they get their financing together so they can come aboard. I can't control all that. But what I can control is the way that I prospect with no emotional regard for the immediate outcome. I'm not looking for that immediate sale. I'm looking to go out there and build a pipeline of leads that sooner or later folks are going to be making decisions. Now the other reason I say that is if you're out there working prospects and you're just heck bent on having to make that sale or wanting to make that sale, I understand all that. But if you're doing it just to make that sale and you don't make that sale, then what happens is you get frustrated and you stop your lead generation. You stop your lead flow. And the key to this business is really continuing to do the business, continue to prospect day in and day out with no immediate regard for the outcome. Keep doing that, and sooner or later the numbers take care of themselves. Such as the story I told early on. I mean, 88 days of going out there and talking to strangers in the public with just a tiny bit to show for it. I could easily have quit in day number 15, day number 20, day number 21, day number 87. I could easily quit, but I would not have ran into that gentleman who opened up a pet shop that bought $47,000 worth of that ridiculous product. But because I kept going and I didn't quit, eventually things begin to gel. Again, I have folks that sign up in my businesses that have been on my list for many, many months before they decide to finally come aboard. So if you work this business with no regard of the outcome and continue filling up your pipeline and do that consistently over and over and over, you're eventually going to end up with the income. It just will happen. There is a little saying in our industry, and it's so true. The income's in the list, and it's no different here. The income is in the list. Mindset number 12 is having a burning desire to really help others. And out of all the things I've said so far, this is probably one of the biggest ones. And that is having a genuine desire to want to reach out and help others to succeed in this business. You know, when I have that warm-up conversation with folks, I generate a lead, I call people back. I'm spending more time finding out about them, asking questions, and finding out what's important to them, find out where their frustrations are, find out why they're not making the income that they're looking for, and then trying to deliver a solution by listening to a free teleseminar or watching a free webinar or attending a live free webinar. I want that free webinar to be the answer to their income dilemmas. So I spend more time trying to find out what's going on with them. Who are they? What are they trying to accomplish? Why hasn't it happened? Hasn't it happened for them? Because most folks we talk to, it hasn't. And then letting them know that there's a free webinar, teleseminar, or whatnot going on that probably they need to listen to because the answers to their success are hidden within that teleseminar or that webinar. And I really have a desire to see people succeed. And for the most part, I'm sure that comes through when I'm talking with folks. Get away from when you're talking to leads about pitching, about talking about your comp plan, about talking about our products, about talking about anything, just to get to know them a little bit and find out what's important to them and see if we have a good fit for them with what we do. And then invite them to go to one of our events, and if they like what they see there, then, some will, some won't, so what, who's next? And you continue to work through the numbers. Because when you're going to be generating the amount of leads that we talk about, there's no reason why that can't happen for you, none whatsoever. But those are the main 12 mindsets that go through my mind when it's to be an effective recruiter. And so often, the success happens well before you have the lead. It happens while having the right mindset. I see a lot of folks doing the same things to generate leads. I'll see someone doing a specific marketing technique, distributor A, and then distributor B, and distributor A doing the exact same marketing technique, developing and creating almost the exact same quality of lead, can sign up 3 or 4 people, and then distributor B, who's doing the exact same thing, developing the same quality of lead, signs nobody up. What's the difference? It's the mindset from the get-go. It's the mindset. I can give 100 leads to one person, they sign up anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 7 people. The same 100 leads to somebody else, again, a goose egg. They don't sign any up. So a lot of it happens with the mindset, if not all of it. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and open this up to some Q&A and see if I can answer some questions for you. So if you just hang tight, I'll get the Q&A set up for you.